Hello, and let's look at chapter 6. We're going to look at commas, and we're not going to do semicolons. We're going to do quotation marks and apostrophes. So let's get going. It's our last chapter for now. So end of sentence punctuation. Excuse my language there. And so punctuation marks do for writing what pauses, changes in pitch, and gestures do for speaking. So they provide necessary road signs. So periods are very important. It's important to learn when to use a period and when not to use a period. This is end of sentence punctuation. So periods, it's important to learn when to use them. So when to use periods to end statements, sentences that are imperative and declarative, to end that are phrases as questions simply for the sake of courtesy, and also indirect questions. Right. So after declarative and imperative sentences, declarative sentences make statements, and imperative statements order someone to act. And here's a couple of examples. All right, again, this goes hand in hand with the chapter that you've got already that's been uploaded for you. So here's checkup 1. Select either a period or a question mark to end the following sentences. When not to use a period after sentences ending in abbreviations, do not use 2 periods for sentences that end with abbreviations. There's some examples when and what to do. After headings or titles or after Roman numerals, a heading that is set on a separate line should not be followed by a period, and you can see the examples there. Question marks. Use question marks after direct questions in a series of questions. So direct questions always end with question marks. Some examples are, have you prepared your resume? Here are some more sentences that begin as statements but end as questions are considered to be questions. So use question marks at the end of such sentence. Here is examples. Jeanne shipped all the software updates to the Calgary office. Didn't she? So the first part certainly doesn't sound like a question, but the didn't she is a question, so you need a question mark. When a sentence contains a series of questions, the series may be joined by commas and a conjunction and end with one question mark only. So a pitfall or a big problem, question marks. So many questions include the word why, ask, or how that some writers automatically use a question mark at the end of a sentence with one of these words. However, many sentences with why, ask, or how are simply indirect questions, that is, declarative sentences. So 2 examples are, Ramon did not ask why the meeting had been postponed. This statement is indirect, uses a period. Here is checkup 4. Right, next one is commas. Commas are good to connect thoughts and to separate elements without sentences. This helps readers make sense of the information. A thorough discussion of the many uses of the comma will follow. So in compound sentences, to use commas correctly in compound sentences, you need to be able to distinguish a compound sentence from a simple sentence. So a simple sentence contains a subject and a verb. The subject or the verb may be compound. A simple sentence with a compound predicate has only one subject and a compound verb. Do not use a comma to separate a compound predicate. Here are the examples. Right? So a compound sentence has 2 or more independent clauses, which is a full sentence, a subject and a predicate. Note in the following sentences how commas are used with the coordinating conjunctions. I've skipped that. You can look at that up in the book. Chapter. So, check up 1 here. Correct these sentences. Write OK if a sentence is correct. Again, pause the screen to do that. A series consists of 3 or more items in a sequence. As you will see in the following examples, the items may be words, phrases, or clauses. So take a look at those. When etc. ends a series, etc. means and so forth. Never write and etc. because the word mean and so forth. When etc. ends a series, use a comma before and after it, unless etc. ends a sentence. Here is an example. Introductory words. Commas follow introductory words at the beginning of a sentence or a clause. Naturally is an introductory word, comma. We are disappointed with the results of the survey. There's also introductory phrases for sure, but mostly it's words. So here are some common introductory words. And here are other words that begin introductory clauses. Next is quotation marks and parentheses and apostrophes. We're not going to look at all of them, but I'll give you some information here. So let's look at quotation marks. Quotation marks, the common use of quotation marks are described and illustrated to indicate the exact words. A direct quotation that someone has written or spoken use quotation marks. And there's an example. Again, always refer to the book. And there's checkup number 1. Parentheses, although comma, dashes, and parentheses share certain common uses, they should not be used interchangeably, right? So the careful business writer is aware of these distinctions. I apologize for that. Study the following information at the use of parentheses. For words that give additional information, commas, dashes, and may be used to set off words that give additional information, right? The words set off by parentheses, however, are clearly de-emphasized that may be omitted, like here. Sandy Evanson, after 40 years of service, has finally retired. So after 40 years of services is in parentheses, and you can take that out. Sandy Evanson has finally retired. It still makes sense. So you don't have to put those commas there, not parentheses. And you will see that you will need to put a comma on both sides. One there and one there. Parentheses for complete sentences. When the words enclosed in parentheses are entirely independent, that is, they are not part of the sentence, the first word is in parentheses is capitalized and normal and punctuation is used. So you can see here, there's your parentheses. The first word is capitalized, and you can see that you would still need no period here. Period would be right there. Right? So check up. Are parentheses used correctly in the following sentences? Take a look at them. Stop the screen. And you also have this in your book. Apostrophes. Apostrophes is to form possessive of nouns. John's office, apostrophe S. Several technicians. Again, if the word ends with an S, it's plural. You put the actual apostrophe after the S. You do not put an extra S there like here. Okay, so here are some examples of contractions. I'm, I am, apostrophe. She's, she is. We'd, we had. There is, there's. Don't, do not. These are all contractions that use parentheses, that use apostrophes. Capitalization. First words, the rules of capitalization helps writers make words distinctive, emphasize words, and show that certain words are especially important. So first words are always capitalized. This is a big issue. I think I've seen a lot of students do it, but I don't know why. But please, if you do not capitalize the first word, your sentence is wrong. Okay, here it is. First word has to be capitalized. Also, sentence in direct quotation, like here, has to be capitalized. Always capitalize the first word, like I said, and each line of poetry, unless the original word shows otherwise, you can see that has to be capitalized. A sentence in direct quotation, like I showed you before, right there, has to be capitalized. And also a complete sentence after a colon. We did not do colon, but their colons are right here. The next letter, next word, has to be capitalized. So main words in titles have to be capitalized. right? The science of age and health. Myra Skorsky has to be capitalized. Out of word. Everything that seems to be main in words has to be capitalized. Canada Today. Here also, Denzel Morris wrote the book The Space Race, A Look Back. All the words are capitalized. Give it a try. Also, names of persons, right? Problem solving use of prefix such as the following. You still have to capitalize the beginning of the word. A lot of people don't do it, but you need to do it. So all names of persons are capitalized. Places are capitalized. King Street, Montreal, City of Montreal. City doesn't have to be capitalized, but Montreal has to be, unless it's part of the name of the city, like here. Quebec City, so city is capitalized. But here, the City of Montreal is not part of the actual name of the city. Montreal is, you do not have to capitalize. Also, name of things. Identify official names of companies or buildings, like here, statistics for business at Metropolitan College has to be capitalized. You do not always capitalize the prepositions, right? A little checkup. Are capitals used correctly? Abbreviations provide writers with shortcuts, and shortcuts are certainly appropriate, and sometimes they're good, but sometimes they're not. So let's look at certain abbreviations. Mr., Mrs., right? The plural, you can see this is in French. Miss, Mrs., right? And you can see that this is used both ways. Doctor, doctors, Miss, Mrs., this is plural. So after personal names, abbreviations of academic degrees. So if you have a doctor's degree and you are Jane T. Prentice, MD, here you have your capital medical doctor right there, right? So are abbreviations used correctly in the following sentences? Pause the screen. Also, companies and organizations will need to always be capitalized, and also Inc. and Limited, and all capitals are abbreviation when you have acronyms like this. CAA, Canadian Automobile Association, every letter, first letter has to be capitalized. We're almost done. An acronym is a shortened form of a name, like I showed you before. Also OPEC, every letter has to be capitalized. Radio stations, always capitalized. Businesses, business abbreviations, street names capitalized, as you can see here, right? Even the West. And post office numbers, you'll see that post office, PO box has to be capitalized, and also city names have to be capitalized. Or these are actually abbreviations too, right? So you've got the abbreviation here, street, right? Instead of street, you have ST. Instead of avenue, you have AVE. Don't forget the dot. And you can see it here that you don't necessarily have to put it, but when you can and abbreviate, you will see it this way. Also, PO box. No one writes post office box. Everybody writes PO box. And again, these have to be capitalized. All provinces and territories are always capitalized and can also be here, as you can see. ON is Ontario, Ontario. Both are correct, ON or ONTARIO. So you can abbreviate Ontario to read ON. So here they are abbreviated, right? Quebec is QC. A lot of people put QE. It's not correct. It's QC. Units of measure also in routine correspondences are spelled out. Kilograms, degrees, we spell these out, right? Meters, meters, we don't shorten them. And here we do have abbreviations if you have to abbreviate them. Centimeter, all the way down to seconds, seconds, minute, yard, pints, and so on. Abbreviation for days or months, you have them here. Sun, month, Tuesday, and you have here Jan, Feb, and March, and so on. Also expressions of time, AM and PM. These are expressions of time. They have to be not necessarily capitalized, but you can abbreviate them. And one more thing, days and months, the days of the week and the months of the year should be abbreviated only when space forces the writer to do so. If you have space, put it in. If you don't have space, you can abbreviate, right? The abbreviation NO is used only before a figure, like you can see here, right? Not anywhere else, right? Great. Thank you. Again, this is the only information you'll have on the exam, so you need to watch this, not study the whole chapter, just what I have here. Thank you and good luck.